2-2 would this game had been billed a big game. It does mean that when it comes to the table for Liverpool, who did rescue a point at the end of it, they are now a point off Manchester City. They've conceded top spot there. As for Arsenal, they are 4 further back as it stands right now, but it is the 3 of them who are top of the table right now. So we've got Nedum Onuoha joining us here on ESPN FC to talk more about this. Frank Leboeuf as well. But Mikel Arteta said after the game, Stevie, and I want to start with you, that Arsenal were the better team today.
I don't think you could say that. I think the 2-2 result was probably the right result. I think both sides didn't deserve to lose. I think certainly Arsenal, for 20 minutes before half-time, had a period where they were running over Liverpool. But the rest of the game was kind of diced up between the two sides. They had little spells of control. Arsenal had spells of control. So I wouldn't say that Arsenal were the better side, and I wouldn't say Liverpool were the better side. I think the correct result was what we got.
Gabriel having to come off in this, did that change things for Liverpool and for Arsenal, obviously, Frank?
Of course. And when you see Saliba in the stand, you already know that it's going to be tricky maybe next week. But it's true that, when I saw him going out, I said, well, it's going to be a little bit of a shamble at the back. They handled it pretty well, and I think, I'm with Stevie. I think it's a fair result, 2-2. Even if I think with all injuries, Saka just coming back but not being sure of getting fit again, I would give more credit to Arsenal to that game, because I think Liverpool didn't show what they could do. I think I was expecting a little bit more from Liverpool in that game. But overall, there's nothing to say. They had one half, I would say, each. It's a little concern. If last year they didn't have too much injury, this year with Gabriel injured, it's going to be tricky at the back, even if Saliba comes back next week.
The second Liverpool goal tells you and paints a clear picture as to what the absence of both Gabriel and Saliba do against Arsenal defensively. It's a really good run from Darwin Núñez, but it's a basic run in some ways. And it's a ball that as a center back you see being played around the corner as well. Naturally, as Darwin Núñez starts coming across, and if Mohamed Salah is coming from the outside, it's crisscross. So now Mohamed Salah is going to take the space of Darwin Núñez. This is basic attacking principles. And it's also basic defending principles. And what you saw from Arsenal is once that ball was played around the corner, panic as to how do we cover Darwin Núñez, how do we cover Mohamed Salah, we don't know where he is, where is he going, where is that? And in that doubt, that it's just a fraction of a second, it's all it takes. In that sense of doubt, you lost Salah, you lost Núñez, 2-2.
So with that in mind then, Nedum, should or could Liverpool have done more, given that they're playing against a defence that has had injuries and that even had Gabriel lost in this game?
Yeah, to be honest, I agree with Frank. I think that Liverpool probably should have had more today. I think when you look at the defence Arsenal did have in there, and you see that second goal where you see the speed of Salah, you see the speed of Núñez, like how often do we get a chance to see that within a game? And in reality, it's not that often. I think at times they sort of felt like they lacked creativity. Maybe some of that was to do with the way Arsenal were defending overall. And I think to even mention my side of things here, I didn't think that after this game, Thomas Partey would have been able to say he had a really good game against Luis Diaz and a really good game against Cody Gakpo. It seemed like some of the individual battles Arsenal were managing to win, which was a big surprise to me because this Liverpool side, even though they've not been at their absolute best throughout this season, they've had plenty of moments where you can see how good they can be. But I don't think we saw that today. But then the question will be, well, did they do enough? Well, there's resilience to come from 2-1 down and, to be able to fight their way through for a point. But I think Slot said it himself, some of the best players of the game today, they're their centre-backs. I thought Van Dijk and Konate for Liverpool were probably two of their key players because around them, it seemed like at times there was a sense of chaos. But I would have thought today would be a game for the front line of Liverpool, but it just turned out to not be the case at all.
The problem Liverpool have for me right now is the difference between how they played under Klopp and how Slot wants them to play. Slot seems to want them to be measured. And when you are as measured as Liverpool tried to be today, then it's too slow. The second goal is really what Liverpool should be trying to do more, in my opinion, and that is get after the back line quicker and play it earlier. And that's all they did. They just Trent Alexander, no surprise, it was him. He's looking forward, he sees the hole, he sees the run, he sees where Salah is, and he puts the ball in. Up until that point, everything Liverpool did was measured. And it just gives, whether it's Arsenal or anybody else, it gives them time to get people behind the ball. And so you end up, Liverpool knocking balls from the side all the way around and back across and sideways. And it's too easy to defend against. So they have to find a happy medium between not being too measured and playing the ball forward quicker earlier.
Can you take...
Sorry, and to your point, Stevie, no better example of that than a player with the personality of Luis Diaz. He wants to go. He wants to go. And it feels like at times it's like he's being held back. It's like he wants to go in 1v1 situations. He wants to run in behind. The same thing with Darwin Núñez. The example that you just gave of the second goal. Those are the runs he wants to make naturally. And yet, when this team starts knocking the ball sideways, it limits the possibility of Luis Diaz going, of Darwin Núñez going, because they don't know where to go now. They don't want to come to the ball. They don't want to come and combine 5-yard passes. No. They want to go and take it to the defender. They want to exploit the spaces in behind. And that was never the case from Liverpool because the pace of the game at which they were playing the match did not allow for them to exploit those spaces.
Can you change the word measured for safe? And are they playing too safe right now?
Well, I don't... Well, that's a tough one. Because there's no way that Arne Slot is talking to them in the terms of safe. He'll be using the word measured.
Or smart.
Yeah, smart, measured, but not... He won't be using the word safe.
But is that what he's doing? Is he making it safe?
Well, he's making it safer for the opposition because it makes it easier for them to defend. So, yeah, his terminology absolutely won't be safe because, you know, if you tell footballers to be safe, then absolutely they'll slow it down as much as they possibly can. So he has to change his terminology, maybe.
Okay. Frank?
Safe or measured, it doesn't change for me anything. I think the DNA of Liverpool is really clear for me that it's vertical, it's fast, it's like giving your best and always going 100%. As you say, if it's safe, if it's measured, you back up a little bit. And I think it's sad because with two players especially today, Konate and Van Dijk very strong at the back, I think you should go for it. And you know what? The second goal, I don't know if the guy would agree with me. I think it's a lucky circumstances because I think TIA wants to give the ball to Salah. I think Salah would have gotten the ball, he would have been offside. So lucky for him that Núñez went there and got the ball. And after it goes very well. But we should see that more often from Liverpool. Liverpool DNA is that kind of action. And we, so many times, say, what are they doing? Are they trying to copy Manchester City? I don't know. That's not their DNA. So they have to change that, I think.
Can I just say one thing about Slot? I think what Slot has to do is he has to trust his players. And he has to remember what they were doing under Klopp. And so he has to give them some leeway. That, you know, if I want my manager to come to me, if I'm McAllister, or Gravenberg, or anybody else, and say, if you see that pass early, I want you to play it. That completely changes the mindset of a footballer. Because if it's measured, if it's safe, whatever you want to do, then that means that the first thing they're looking for is not the ball forward, they're looking to keep the ball. So if he can just shift towards giving them their head and giving them their ability and what they see and give them the reins to say, you know what, if you see that and you play it and it doesn't work, I'm okay with that. That'll completely change the outlook and certainly the pace at which Liverpool will go forward.
Now, obviously, Nedum, Arsenal were the home team today. They've got the injuries that they have. They've even lost more players in this game today. Did we learn anything about who City's closest challengers are from this game today?
Oh, that is a good question. I think as we see the league table now, it is these three teams that are at the top. It's City, it's Liverpool, it's Arsenal, and I'd imagine that still being the case. I think the head-to-heads that they'll have throughout the season will just be very different. Like, say, when Man City go to play at Anfield, inevitably they'll probably lose there. But when Liverpool come to play at the Etihad, maybe they'll lose there as well. So I think it's more a case of how they do in those other games. And I think as it stands, Liverpool, as we've seen, they've won 11 of 13 games so far under Slot. I can see that continuing on. And this little mini test that they've had, I think they've looked okay within it. But for me, the biggest strength is their ability to beat all those other sides, sometimes convincingly, sometimes not, but still enough to put the points on the table. And I think for Arsenal, they know that for now they have dropped points throughout this season as it stands, but they've got players to come back in. They've got their best version of themselves to come, and they're still kind of there or thereabouts for now. And I think for them, that's a big one because today, I think many people, myself included, probably didn't fancy them against Liverpool. But Arteta, whether he's trying to do the messaging for his players or whether he actually believes it himself, he's saying to the press afterwards he thinks his team deserve to win. And that's a team that features a youngster at left back. It features Thomas Partey at right back. It features a backup in Kiwior at centre back and Ben White, who doesn't really play centre back anymore, in there as well. So credit to them for being able to compete against the Liverpool side. And as I say, Liverpool in some ways I'd imagine they'll take the point. So again, that's credit to Arsenal.
I'll tell you what, speaking of save and measure, that was a save and measure response from Nedum, who I know, when that second goal went in, there were celebrations. Because this is the best result for Manchester City. That Liverpool is dropping points, that Arsenal is dropping points. We're still not at our best if you're Manchester City, and we're top of the table. And here we go. At some point, we're going to get better. These guys, they just took up points away from each other.
Is it still a 3-horse race then, Ale?
What was that again?
Is it still a 3-horse race?
Well, yes. Why wouldn't it be? First of all, we're 9 matches in.
But if City are going to get better...
Well, yes. I imagine that they will because, to Frank's point, man, it used to be exciting to watch Manchester City play. Over the last few weeks, it's become hard work to watch Manchester City play.
Yeah.
However, they are top of the table. They are winning games.
Yeah.
I think eventually they're going to get better. Eventually players will get healthier. They have to be more dynamic in the attack. Regardless, they are where they should be or they think they should be. And it helps that Liverpool and Arsenal took points away from each other.
Frank?
Yeah, I'm very worried about that because normally they drop points, they waste points at the beginning of the season, and then around December they start waking up and come back, and we have interesting end of the Premier League, but they're already first. They're already 5 points ahead of Arsenal. That's not very good news for Premier League and the others. If they keep on doing what normally they do, it's gonna be not even a three team race. It's going to be a 1-team race because they're going to keep on moving up and nobody's going to be able to follow them.
Nedum, you okay with them not being happy with Manchester City and the way they're playing at the moment?
No, I think that's fair. And I think in some ways you can probably make the same sort of statement about, say, Arsenal in these early weeks of the season. I think it's due to the fact, in my opinion, that 2 of the most creative players in the Premier League have been unavailable or not at their best. You're looking at Odegaard for Arsenal. You're looking at Kevin De Bruyne for Man City. I think when he comes and he plays, he's different to the rest of the team. Like, the way he perceives football is different to the rest of the players around him who have, like, a great belief in sort of, like, structure. And at times you could call it safe. But, again, it's the whole measured approach. Like, you can't score if we've got the ball type mentality. But I think what I would say about Man City in this moment, yes, yesterday Haaland had a ton of chances. It could have been a 4-0, could have been 4-1, whatever. But as you look at their bench right now, they don't have the depth. And I'm curious to see when the likes of a Grealish and Doku come back in. When a De Bruyne comes back in, you've got Kyle Walker as well. And when those guys start to come back in, I think they might look a bit different because they'll have different options, different ways to go and take it at teams. But for now, the players that they put out there, it feels like that's all they have. And with some tough games coming up before the next international break, it's going to be key for them to get those bodies back for after that break finishes.
Final thoughts, Stevie?
So is the team to beat? I guess before the ball was kicked, we thought that maybe trying to do it again was going to be too much. Is Pep going to be leaving? Can De Bruyne last? I mean, we had a lot of questions about City before this Premier League started. But yet they're sitting top of the league, so City's the team to beat.
And can I just say, Arsenal, they got to be careful. They got to stay in touch.
Yeah.
And today was a must not lose, cannot lose sort of match. But they were there in order to win it. And they were there in order to win it against Manchester City. And late goals now have come. And late goals then is 2 points walking out the door against Manchester City and against Liverpool. And here we are. It's very early on, but you got to stay in touch. You got to stay in touch with City. You got to stay in touch with Liverpool. And right now they're trailing. And they get injury issues that don't seem to be going away. We keep talking about Odegaard, but now what happens with a center-back pairing and what happens with the immediate future of Arsenal? They have to be very careful they don't go on a negative run here.